Welcome to Lights Up, the podcast that will bring the world of entertainment to one-on-one conversations with the experts in the entertainment business. We invite you to learn about their experience and understand the development, transformations, and importance of the entertainment industry at an international level. This is Lights Up. Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to your favorite podcast about the world of entertainment and what is behind the curtain. My name is Victoria. I'll be your host today, and joining me will be Andy.
Hello, Vicky. How are you?
I'm good, Andy. Very excited to be doing this episode and a bit different.
Yeah, this is our special episode because it's in a different language.
That's right. It is very important for us to make sure that we are speaking in English and are developing in English because that is one of the main languages spoken in this industry. But enough about languages. What are we here for today?
Okay, today in this episode we have Sergio Soto. He's Minister of Foreign Affairs for Europe, the Middle East and Africa of Kidzania, a company that started back in 1999 in Mexico City.
That's right. It is currently present in over 19 countries. And in the works of opening more locations, Kidzania is an international chain of family entertainment where children can explore and learn about the adult world in a fun way.
Sergio joined Kidzania in February 2001 and has gathered more than 18 years of experience in operations and management. He was born in Mexico and he's currently residing in Cairo, Egypt. Please welcome Sergio Soto.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the invitation. I will apologize before anything happens because probably I will start using some of the Kidzania language just because I'm used to work with that. But it's going to be good for you to start learning some other words.
Of course. Yeah, we need to get into that Kidzania special language.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, the concept is we are a nation, right? So we have our own culture, our own language and everything. And then you get used to start talking to everybody and say kai instead of hi and thanks instead of thanks. And then you just get messed up. And when you're talking in English or in another language, you just forget about it and just use that. So sorry in advance.
It's okay. Okay, we will start with our questions. The first one, could you tell us a bit of your journey to where you are today? How did you end up in Kidzania?
Okay, that's a very interesting story, at least for me. Back in 2001, I wanted to be looking forward to get a job, a temporary job, where I can study and have some income. And before I was having some freelance jobs on developing websites and so on. And then I found this incredible place called La Ciudad de los Niños, which was Kid City back then. And someone told me, hey, why don't you apply for a job there? They might have something for you. And say, okay. I knock the door and say, hey, I would like to join. What should I do? They took my CV and said, okay, interesting. We don't have right now any vacancy for IT, but we can call you whenever we have. And said, it's okay, but you have some other spot maybe as animator or the guys that are at the activities, right? And now we call them supervisors and say, oh yeah, are you interested in that? And said, yes, I would like to. And suddenly I was joining there in February 2001. And I said, okay, I'll be here for 6 months. If there's any vacancy open here, I will jump to the other department. If not, I will leave and continue my career and focus on something else, right? So after 6 months, my expiration date was about to be due, and then a couple of events happened, and here I am 20 years later, still in Kidzania, being in all the different areas that you can imagine in the company, and even being now outside Mexico, which is an amazing experience.
It really, really is, especially when you can explore a completely different culture as the one we have in Mexico. But how about you tell us? Kidzania is often described as one of the leaders in the educational and entertainment industry, and that is very difficult part, making learning fun and exciting for kids. In your opinion, how does it manage to combine the fun and the learning?
Well, Kidzania is a small city like we can find in any place in the world. That's why it's also very easy to take it to other places, right? Other cities and with different cultures. So what we are trying to do is to get the same activities that we find in any city and make it in a smaller scale just for the kids to learn that. So what we're just trying to do is to make it in a fun way, and they can learn whatever they are seeing or they will be related later on in their real activity. So it's not that hard to make it under a learning umbrella when you are looking really at the activities and the essence of what we are trying to do. We are trying always to have um, the curricula from the different Ministry of Educations in the different countries matching with activities that we have and how we can probably take some of the skills and develop them in the activity with a different process or something like that. So at the end, it's quite easy because everything that we do, it's a learning for us, and it's a learning in a social, in learning in different skills, not only like fine development, it also has some other subjects that are related with the curriculum in the educational system of each country. So it's not that hard, but it takes some expertise in identifying these opportunities and put them into the activities that we perform every day in the facilities.
Okay, it sounds interesting. As we know, Kidzania started in Mexico in 1999. So, how was your experience when you expand the brand into other countries and other cultures? What have you learned from it?
Well, imagine we're talking about 1999, probably early 2000s, right? And it's a Mexican concept, right? It's a small company. There's no competitors. There's no experience, not either in the field or in other country. It's a new concept, and somehow, at some point, some people interested in different countries started to approach the company to see how they can open something similar in their countries. And then it's when the fun started because in order to get over those challenges, it was important to get standards, processes, and start making a very big effort in developing SOPs, any type of manuals. Started to develop our own system and everything. So it was, I guess, a period where we had to grow up very fast because we have a lot. And when I say a lot, is you cannot imagine the amount of documentation that we have for these kind of things. So we have to build from scratch everything. And luckily, I was part of that.
Yeah, I can imagine that was a great experience and a learning process along the way. But since we're talking about Kisania, and like you mentioned, the expansion not only had our typical departments like marketing and HR and finances, but you have to focus on your customer, in this case, kids, and that is often difficult. How do you find the creation of this kind of team focus for children entertainment differs from maybe another industry?
Well, now that you mention and now that we're talking more on the entertainment, we know that there are different types of entertainment venues, right? Or different categories. We have things like cinemas and things like FECs and so on. And even when you are more targeting kids, it's a different approach. We cannot treat Kidzania like any other FEC or like these arcade games or video games machines. It's not the same. No, it's a completely different story, complete different experience. And what you mentioned, it's key. It's all about the people. Here, what we do, we have a specific profile, not only for the areas that you mentioned, marketing and HR and all of these areas that are important. They should have this focus on developing something for the family entertainment, but also on the team that is going to be working daily with the kids. So yeah, the most important area I think is the part that we call experience, which is the content where we develop all the activities and where everything is like the process that goes through there. It's the one that requires different qualifications, right? So it's people that is more focused on the skills and the development of the kids, but also they cannot leave behind the part of all the creating the scenarios and all the different elements that will be included in the activity, right? So this part is the trick. It's what makes different from having an arcade game or having a trampoline park, no soft playing, than having something that is really for kids where they are going to be performing other type of activities.
Yeah, I think it's all about the details and more because your first customers are children, so you gotta keep them entertained, but also that they can learn something great. And the students often look towards executive management and operations position in global companies. Can you tell us more about this type of office job positions and what a day to day might look like in the field?
For sure. I mean, here and I think for this business in specific, and I'm talking about entertainment, and it doesn't matter which venue you're talking about. The most important thing is you have to know the operations. You have to be there and you have to experience it to be able to understand and then work on whatever you want to do in any other position in the office, if you want to call it like that, right? Not in the ground like we call it. So after you can understand the process of operations, which is crucial, then your day-to-day work might be related, depending on your department, but it's going to be either if it's marketing, you will be creating new strategies on how you're going to engage with your customers, with your visitors. And then if you are what we have, I don't know, our industry partners area where they are going to be looking for brands that have the same purpose or the same message that we want to share with the kids, and we are looking for them to be part of the same project with us. And then, for example, in my case, I'm overseeing regional area, so I'm in contact with different franchises, and I have to be like solving some stuff that happens on the day to day. That's why you have to know the operations. And then the other hand, you are trying to make them profitable, right? Because you have to make sure that your franchise is successful so you can be successful. So it's quite interesting. And now that we are everybody working from home and doesn't allow you to have these one-to-one meetings, and so it has triggered some other skills and other different ways to analyze the business and to see how we can make it work, right?
Of course, at the end of the day, it is a business, as you mentioned. It is a part of the money producing company. We do focus on the entertainment and how we cater to our client and to the children, but making a business run, it's a difficult, especially when you're dealing with, well, a different kind of client that requires a bit more specifics and more details oriented, like the kid industry. Now,
Definitely.
a question that I would like to ask you is, as many students may be up for joining this kind of industries that, as you priorly mentioned, have a culture and even a language of their own, what is the recommendation? And more than that, what is the introducing yourself to a company which this kind of organizational culture like?
Well, look, I think harder to know other brands or other venues. Each one has their own essence and their own values and their own corporate feelings, right? So I think that you should be looking for something that really triggers that passion in you. I have to say I've been very lucky to be in this company. Um, I cannot imagine myself in another place, and this is what keeps me going and going, right? So when you embrace like this the brand, and when you embrace like this the values and everything, I think it's everything goes more easy or smoothly. I started from scratch, right? So I was on the bottom of the organizational chart, if you want to put it like that, and I was able to see the fun part, the amazing part, the reaction of the kids and everything. And then you have to switch the chip, and then you have to make sure that everything keeps running the same way, so it keeps the fun and the entertaining part for the kids. And then how you can make others to bring these feelings or bring this passion to work and do the same. So look, for me, I think the best advice that I can say for people that is trying to be part of the entertainment business is like, first you have to start from scratch. The people that I know that started from scratch is the people that understands better the job, understand better the needs, not only for the customers, also for the company, and give also, like, this is not for the ones that are looking for, it's for the ones that are already there. Give the chance for the people that comes from inside to grow and develop themselves, because these people is the one that has the shirt on, like we say in Mexico, but also they have the heart and the passion for keep the business growing. No, they will sacrifice a lot of things to make this to be successful, because at the end they feel that it's part of them. They have this ownership on that. So take it, embrace it, own it, and then go for it.
Of course, Andy, you might be able to agree with me. It always makes me smile when we're doing an interview. And the thing that it's mentioned is that you have to start from scratch. And Andy, you know this already. We've talked about this before, how you always have to do that to see really what it takes to build a brand. Andy, what is your opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, it is true. It's happening to me right now. I'm working in a hotel here in Cancun, and I'm really starting from the bottom. And you can see like all kind of stories. Like one guy that started with cleaning services, and now he is our operation manager. And he is like, you can start right now in a position, but 10 years later, you're gonna end up as a manager if you want to, because there's this opportunity to grow in the industry and the company. And I think that's what happens in a lot of companies like Kidzania. I mean, you started as an animator, I think,
Yep.
and now you're 20 years later somehow in Egypt working for Kidzania. So how was that? I mean, how did it happen? How did you move from Mexico in 2001, and now to that 2021 you are in the other side of the world?
Quite literally.
Literally. So look, this part is it's nice because I've been able to grow with the company, right? So when we started, it was only one place, and I was enjoying what I was doing, and somehow I got in love with the place, right? So then later on, we started growing, and we opened different facilities in different countries. Then we realized that we needed to send some people to the new places to train them, to make sure that they are following all the process, that they have all the standards, and that we can rely on them to run the business, right? So back in 2011, 12, the first team that they sent with an operational guy, they took me there. I say, okay, wow, I'm the first operational guy that comes to do this. And my first one was in Seoul, in Korea. So it was very interesting. I saw a different culture, and I understand a lot of things that I didn't understand when they came with you. When they come with you with a paper and say, this is the case that we have, and we don't know how to solve it, and then you are there and you understand a lot of things that you cannot see in the paper, right? And then after that, they created a team that will go to the different facilities to make sure that they are complying with all of this. Okay, so I started going to different countries like Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, Santiago de Chile, and then we had a big challenge. We were opening 3 facilities in the same range of 1 month. We were opening the second Kidzania in Mexico City, which was Kidzania Cuicuilco, which is amazing.
Mhm.
We were opening Kidzania in Mumbai, and we were opening Kidzania in Cairo. So I was part of Kidzania Cuicuilco by that time. I was the airport manager, so it's practically the ticket counter sales, okay? And then I was also overlooking for these trainings to other cities. And we had on the same range, Mumbai and Cairo. I had an accident in a motorbike, and then they told me, Mumbai is going to open first. So we will send you to Cairo instead to Mumbai, and someone else is going to go to Mumbai to do the job, and then you go to Cairo, so you have more time for you to recover. And then that's how I arrived to Cairo, right? So we did our same job as we have done in the previous cities, and I came back and say, okay, but just before that, we were we always required to have all the positions hired, trained, everything ready. We are just going there to make sure that you have everything done. Okay. So when we were flying and we did the transit in London, they were I was receiving some WhatsApp messages and it was saying like, "Oh no, we have a big problem." So what happened? They don't have the operations manager or the establishment manager and the airport manager. And say, okay, so what am I gonna do? I need to train someone, and the people that I'm gonna train is not gonna be there. So we will figure it out. So when we arrived, they were like, okay, we had to get rid of them because one issue happened, but we will have someone else today and this week. Okay, I said no problem. I will train them and try to move as fast as possible. Right? We did the job. We were able to finish that part with some complications because I will just this is out of the Kidzania aspect, but when we were here in Cairo, it was 2013. As you know, in 2011 was this Arab Spring or the Primavera Árabe, when there were a lot of revolutions among all the Arab cities here in the nearby, my neighbors. And there was a big issue here in Egypt as well. And in 2013, the things were a bit calmer, but there were still some issues there. So by the time that we were here, there was an issue, and there were some riots in the like the main square of the city, and the office in Mexico just got to know that and say, "You come back immediately. We're not going to risk anybody, of course." So we went back, and then 10 days later, we have to come back and finish the job that we were doing when everything was calm and so on. So it was quite interesting, let's say, the experience to come here. Anyway, I came back to Mexico and so on. And by that time, I was already in a different area. I left when I was in Kidzania Cuicuilco, and by the time that I was finishing the job in Kidzania Cairo, I was part of the training department that we have for all the franchises. Okay, so it was just in the middle of that. And then a couple of days later, probably a month later, I was having a breakfast with my mom, and she was like, "Hey, do you think that you will see yourself living abroad at any point?" I said, "Yeah, why not? I mean, probably from the cities that I have been going around, I would go to anyone except to Seoul or Cairo." And she was like, "Why?" I said, "Well, because Seoul, it's too organized, it's too like too straight. Everything is like in a box, so it's impressive. And Cairo is completely the opposite. It's messy, it's dirty, it's noisy. If you think that Mexico City it's like that, you haven't seen here. Anyway, anyway, couple of weeks later, one of my bosses there was arriving early to the office. He was like, "Oh my God, these guys from Cairo are driving me crazy. They are asking me for an operations manager, but I already recommended people that were in Kidzania Dubai and Kidzania Jakarta, and they didn't like them. So I don't know what else I can offer to them." And my boss, my direct boss in that moment, she said like, "Why don't you send Sergio there?" And I said, "What?"
What?
Like that. I'm talking about 7:30 a.m. in the office, and I was like, "What?" And he looked at me and say, "Would you go?" And say, "Yeah, why not?" I say, "Do you know Arabic?" I say, "No, but I can learn, Why not?" Okay, so this is not a joke. Think about it. and let me know, because if you say yes, I definitely make sure that the Egyptian guys take you there. And I say, okay, I'll think about it. So I think about it like for like 10 minutes. So after my boss came out from the meeting, I said, okay, I'll do it. You sure? Yes. And then, well, everybody was very supportive with me at the office in Mexico, and they helped me to achieve that. And they took me to Cairo, right? And I was here working for the franchisee. So this is the tricky part. I had to leave Mexico, the company in Mexico, and work for another company, but still under the same brand, right? So it's kind of tricky because it's a franchisee. So there's a different holding company. And I was here working in Kidzania Creative for someone else for 2 years and so. And then they call me and say, hey, what about if you come back to the offices in Mexico, but from Cairo? Now you overlook all Middle East. And I say, yay, I like it. Perfect, sounds perfect for me. This means that I will work with Mexico, but I have to the chance to be sharing all what I have learned and all the experience I have with the people in Egypt and the people in all Middle East. We have Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Jeddah, Doha, Kuwait, Istanbul. So we have quite good places to go around and
Mhm.
spread, the
Wow.
learning. Yes. So that was like the first thing I said, yes, count me in. The rest doesn't matter. We will talk about the details later on. And the my boss, who was the one that called me at that time, it's someone that I worked with before in Mexico, and before he was the one that took me to the first trip to Seoul to help him on that. So I know how he works and how he deals with things, and I like the styles. I said, yes, I'm in. I know I will always follow that. So this is how I ended up for 7 years now and almost 8 here in Egypt.
Now that is quite the story. I can only imagine just going to a party and being like, "Hey, how did you end up here?" And then you just give them the best story of the night. It sounds truly amazing. Like you really, really saw the process go through and help build what today is Kidzania in the other side of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I have the chance to say how it goes, being part of it as operating it, right? As a supervisor, as a coordinator, as a manager, and different positions. Then you already know the positions, and I was also on the part of the what we call industry partners, which are the sponsorships, and I was on areas like the training for all the franchisees. So I get to know all the different. So like for example, for the people that is starting, it's not always that you will become on your next step the manager or the director or anything. Sometimes you will go moving on your side. Doesn't need to be always up front, right? My recommendation is to look to the sides, because probably on the other side that you are moving, there's other doors that you can open, and you can see the doors that you have the chance to open and which doors you are not going to be able to open, right? Some things are very technical. I don't see myself being on the marketing department, right? But on the other side, why not? I can do the rest. And I've been literally in, I think, in all departments. And as you mentioned, you can see someone that started in the cleaning service, and don't be afraid to be one of them, and help the people to clean, to work on the maintenance and everything, because you learn a lot from these people, and these people, when they see that you are working with them and supporting them, they will always have your back. So that's also important.
Yeah, I think we all need to trust the process because sometimes we feel, well, as a student, we're like afraid of what will happen in a couple of years. But I mean, it's all about trusting the process and getting the experience and the learning from everything. So, what has been your biggest challenge in the industry?
Wow. Ah. definitely last year and so what we are running, it's a quite big challenge. We have something now is not even similar back in 2009 when it was the A1HN1, right? That was we had to close for a couple of weeks, and here we were expecting like something similar. So even we didn't wait for the government to say that you have to close. In some countries they had to, but we decided to close, for the sake of the health of our people, and we were expecting to have it back after a couple of weeks, probably a month. And then you face a complete different scenario. And to be honest, we know that this part entertainment is the one that was one of the most affected industries all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Hospitality, airlines, and entertainment, right? And at the end, on the recovery part, is going to take a bit more longer than others because people doesn't have the same purchase power that they have before, or at least in certain countries, because some others they have some governmental support. So this, I mean, for the people that is having this issue, the last thing that they are thinking of is entertainment. So that's a big challenge. So turning that into my day-to-day job is how are you gonna make someone profitable if you are closed?
Yeah. I mean, that's a bit of a struggle there. Like it's been a bit of a struggle. Yeah,
Just a
definitely.
little bit.
The whole industry had turbulence, we can say that, in this past few months with the pandemic, but slowly things are coming back together. And with that, what do you think might be the next big step for companies like Kidzania, not only coming back from the pandemic, but adding new technologies and overall seeing the way that the new generation, especially one that hasn't left the house, is going to be interacting with the world?
Well, there are a couple of things, and everything is how you want to see things, right? So we in the company were very positive because even when we know that employment is like the last thing that you want to do when you're not in a good financial state, we have seen recoveries and people is urging to go out and have some fun. So that's a good thing. In some markets, in some countries, we have seen that the recovery is probably the same of 2019 before COVID in terms of the family's attendance, which is good. In other hand, unfortunately or luckily, this is a trick. Some other competitors had to close. They were not able to keep themselves alive, and it's sad, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you need competition to make yourself every time better, but it's also good because you don't have more competitors to share the market with, right? So yeah, I think that in that part we were able to survive, and this is going to give us a good plus. And well, in terms of the future, one thing is for sure. In 2019, we were talking about how we can create activities that are appealing more towards the future. We were talking about robotics, things with drones, coding, things like this. On the other side, after all this pandemic situation, we have to develop some of these activities and some of these online and certain products and so on. And what we have seen is that after this blip that we can say, it's like the strategy should be like going back to basics, because as you mentioned, there were people that for these 2 years didn't go to Kidzania, but also they didn't know because they were too young at that time to know it. So go to basics, start from what made you that successful, and then start introducing the new activity because they are still attractive. But now, after the people has been locked down at home for so long, they don't want to see more screens. They want to see and feel things in a different way. So for me, I think we should focus more on back to basics without leaving behind that. But I think that's step one. And then step two, start implementing, because we have already developed the activities, to start putting the new things over there so we can have all the different age brackets there. Because also, I mean, All of this makes that the upper tier of our age segment, which normally it's for 4 to 14, now everybody it's like growing up earlier. So now it's like going down to 12 probably. So you need to work on things that are attractive for this part of 12 to 14, maybe 16 years old. And we have to focus on all of that. But yeah, I mean, it's time to go to back to basics and reignite everybody's into this experience.
Yeah, I mean, we're all, I think nowadays we're all focused on what's going to happen next with the technology and all the innovations we're having. But it is true, we need to go back to basics because that's um, kind of the process we had. So sometimes it's important to remember where we come from and that made us get where we are. I don't know if I made my point, but last but certainly not least, what advice would you give to our listeners?
Well, uh, other than the ones that I already shared, like start from scratch, be passionate of what you do. I always feel like I was very lucky to find a job that made me so happy. So if you can find that, don't let it go. I think that's the most important thing. Trust the process definitely, and trust yourself. Don't try to eat the world in one bite. Try to go step by step. Um, Enjoy the process. For me, I think I never stayed for more than a year and a half in the same position. I think now that I'm regional director, I've been like 2 years, and now it's like okay, it's harder to go up, right? It's harder to grow. So I'm okay being here 2 years or more, but for the rest, you have to let the process go. Be patient, keep doing your job, and everything will come eventually. Be nice to everybody.
That's important.
I swear, this is the most important thing. You have to be nice with everybody because you don't know when you're gonna be depending on them. So always say please, thank you, uh, say hi, everybody. Doesn't matter. Treat everybody like they were the CEOs. Doesn't matter. Treat everybody the same, and things will come your way, I guess.
But yeah, I think that's a really important part that you said, like treat everybody like at the same level, give them the importance they have, but also always be nice with everybody. But thank you so much for being here with us today. Is there any social media where we can find you?
Well, yeah, but I don't publish much. I mean, it's more on a personal basis. To be honest, I don't. I'm not a social media guy. I like to be there and just see what is going on, but I don't really use it for personal use. So it's okay.
Okay.
But thanks for the invitation. It's a very interesting experience. I haven't done this before, and definitely it's nice to be able to share the experience and the learning path that I have been going through. Um, and I hope that I can inspire someone to follow their dreams and the process and everything.
Hopefully, passion
Oh, you
is
did.
okay. Sergio, now thank you so much once again for joining us today. To our audience, don't forget to find us and follow us on our social media on Instagram like lightsup.cast for the behind the scene contents, news, fun facts, and more about this industry. As always, you can watch or listen to this episode. To see, you can go to youtube.com/komu anahuac and to listen on Spotify like Lights Up. Once again, Sergio, hope you had a great experience here today. We are very glad to have shared this with you. And everyone, will see you next week. Bye bye.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this podcast, we invite you to keep listening to the episodes that are posted weekly. We also want to remind you that in every episode we have a special guest here to tell us about their experience and trajectory in different areas of entertainment. Lights Up welcomes you to the entertainment world. See you in our next show.